In just 21 years, Germany transformed from a nation brought to its knees in defeat to the architect of the deadliest conflict the world has ever known. This is not just a story of war and destruction, but a cautionary tale of how fragile democracy can be in the face of manipulation, fear, and unchecked ambition. November 11th, 1918. The guns fall silent on the Western Front as Germany signs the armistice, officially ending World War I. But for the German people, this is not a moment of relief or triumph. It is the beginning of a deep national trauma, a collective wound that will fester for years. The proud German army, undefeated on foreign soil, returns home to a country in chaos. Streets fill with soldiers, some limping, some broken, all carrying memories of unimaginable horror. But instead of a hero's welcome, they face blame, anger, and a brewing sense of betrayal. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, adds salt to these wounds. It is not just punitive, it is humiliating by design. Article 231, infamously known as the War Guilt Clause, forces Germany to accept sole responsibility for the war. The economic reparations are staggering. 132 billion gold marks, a sum so vast it would equate to over $400 billion today. Germany's borders are redrawn. 13% of its territory is stripped away. Millions of ethnic Germans suddenly find themselves living in foreign lands, and all its overseas colonies are lost. The once mighty army is reduced to a mere 100,000 men. The Air Force is abolished. The Navy is gutted. These are not just numbers or policies. They are daily reminders of defeat for every German. But it is the economy that truly collapses. By 1923, Germany is in the grip of hyperinflation. Money becomes worthless almost overnight. Housewives take wheelbarrows of banknotes to buy a single loaf of bread. Children play with stacks of useless currency. Some families use bills as wallpaper, cheaper than paint. Middle-class savings, carefully built over generations, are obliterated in days. The German mark, once a symbol of stability, becomes a cruel joke. Out of this chaos arises the Weimar Republic, Germany's first experiment with democracy. But it is born under a curse. To many, democracy itself is synonymous with humiliation and defeat. The new government is weak, fractured by dozens of parties and constant infighting. Political violence becomes commonplace. Extremists from both the far left and far right battle in the streets, while ordinary Germans lose faith in their leaders and their future. Amidst this turmoil, an unlikely figure begins to rise. Adolf Hitler, a failed artist from Austria, drifts through the streets of Vienna and Munich with little to his name but resentment and ambition. He finds purpose not in painting, but in words, in the angry, volatile atmosphere of Munich's beer halls, where he discovers his true talent, tapping into the darkest fears and frustrations of ordinary people. In 1923, riding a wave of nationalist fervor, Hitler attempts a coup, the Beer Hall Putsch. It is a fiasco. He is arrested, tried for treason, and should have vanished into obscurity. But instead, his trial becomes a stage. Newspapers across the country publish his speeches, and millions hear his message. Germany was betrayed, and the Jews are to blame. In prison, he pens Mein Kampf, laying out his blueprint for power. He learns a crucial lesson: force alone will not suffice. To rule Germany, he must be invited in. By 1926, Hitler finds an ally in Joseph Goebbels, a failed novelist with a genius for propaganda. Goebbels understands that politics is not about facts, it is about feelings. Every Nazi rally becomes a carefully choreographed spectacle. The timing, the music, the lighting, even the placement of the audience are designed to bypass reason and ignite emotion. With the rise of radio, the Nazis seize a new weapon. Goebbels calls it the most important instrument of mass influence that exists anywhere. Messages that once reached hundreds now reach millions in an instant. Central to their strategy is the big lie. The more outrageous the claim, the more likely people are to believe it. The Jews are responsible for Germany's defeat. It is a monstrous falsehood, but repeated often enough, it becomes accepted wisdom for many. The Nazis master the art of repetition. Slogans, enemies, and promises are drilled into the public consciousness, blurring the line between truth and fiction. Then, disaster strikes again. The Great Depression sweeps the globe, and nowhere is the misery more acute than in Germany. By 1932, nearly a third of Germans are unemployed. Hunger and homelessness are everywhere. The Weimar Republic seems helpless. Desperate for answers, more Germans turn to the extremes. In 1928, the Nazis are a fringe party, barely winning 2.6% of the vote. By 1932, they are the largest party in the country. But contrary to myth, they never win an outright majority. Hitler's rise is not a popular mandate, but the result of political miscalculation. Conservative politicians, convinced they can control him, make a fatal bargain. On January 30th, 1933, President Hindenburg appoints Hitler as chancellor. Within weeks, the Reichstag, Germany's parliament, is set on fire, a crime many believe orchestrated by the Nazis themselves. Hitler seizes the moment, demanding emergency powers to protect the nation. Political rivals are arrested. Civil liberties are suspended. In March, the Enabling Act passes, giving Hitler the authority to rule by decree. In less than 2 months, democracy in Germany votes itself out of existence. At first, life seems to improve. Unemployment plummets. New highways and factories spring up. Germans feel proud again. But beneath the surface, freedoms are vanishing. The economy is propped up by secret rearmament. The military is rebuilt in violation of the Treaty of Versailles. The Nuremberg laws of 1935 stripped Jews of citizenship and rights, step by step, making each new outrage seem normal. Books are burned. The press is muzzled. Universities are purged of dissent. Most Germans look away, comforted by prosperity and national revival. Each Nazi success breeds bolder aggression. In 1936, Hitler remilitarizes the Rhineland. France and Britain do nothing. In 1938, Austria is annexed in the Anschluss, and the Sudetenland is seized after the Munich Agreement. Western leaders, desperate to avoid another war, give Hitler everything he wants. When Kristallnacht erupts in November 1938, Jewish businesses are destroyed, synagogues burned, thousands arrested, but most Germans remain silent. The final act begins in 1939. Hitler signs a pact with Stalin, shocking the world and sealing Poland's fate. On September 1st, German troops invade. The manipulation is complete. World War II has begun. The cost is almost beyond comprehension. 70 million dead. The Holocaust. Cities in ruins. Entire nations shattered. But Hitler's methods did not die with him. Scapegoating, propaganda, and the incremental erosion of democratic norms remain tools for those who seek power through division and fear. The lesson is clear. Democracy is not self-sustaining. It requires education, vigilance, and the courage to confront lies with truth. Each generation must defend it anew, lest history repeat its darkest chapters. If you enjoyed this historical journey, please support our channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to click the bell icon.